The survivors of Jeffrey Epstein have finally been given a platform to speak, where they called out the Republican Party to vote for releasing the documents. Of course, we only had 4 Republicans do it. But let's hear from the Epstein victim, one of the survivors, specifically about Donald Trump and his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein.
My first trip to the Palm Beach residence, I drove there from the airport with Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey and Ghislaine were always very boastful about their friends, their famous or powerful friends, and his biggest brag forever was that he was very good friends with Donald Trump. He had an 8x10 framed picture of him on his desk with the two of them. Like, they were very close.
Okay, so I don't think that's all there is to it. I think there's more coming, but I appreciate that this woman got up there and said Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were friends with him, because Ghislaine Maxwell is currently the beneficiary of the Department of Justice's grace. So I just want to applaud the survivors for standing up and taking all of this heat. And I know how traumatic, I don't know how traumatic it is, but it has to be extremely traumatic. So I am happy to see that they did have an opportunity to speak despite the Republicans ignoring it.
You know, what's interesting about Ghislaine Maxwell is she was asked in this, where she totally gives the Trump administration, the DOJ, exactly what they want so that she can get transferred to a different prison. But they asked her, do you think Jeffrey Epstein killed himself? And she said, no, I don't. You know who else said that? Hunter Biden. Like, nobody thinks that Jeffrey Epstein credibly killed himself. I mean, and then when you see like the layout of the cell and all of that, and then if you dig deeper in it, you can see why so many MAGA people went down this conspiracy theory. They just thought, I don't know if they thought Biden was in charge at the time, if the timeline's blurry to them, but it was Bill Barr and Donald Trump's DOJ that was in charge of Jeffrey Epstein during the time of his incarceration. And Ghislaine Maxwell doesn't think he killed himself. And have you seen the video of like how he would have had to have hung himself?
Yeah, it would like jumped or something. Like he could have stood on his feet and it would have made him upright, right? I mean, he couldn't have hung himself. It
just seemed like impossible.
Well, here's the thing. Do I think the president of the United States is capable of criminal behavior to cover his own ass? Absolutely. Do I think that's limited? Is he limited by principles? Fuck no. I think he would do whatever it took to cover his own ass. Look what he's doing now. So then in front of all the victims, Representative Thomas Massie again addresses Donald Trump, calling the Epstein survivors' situation a hoax.
I think it's shameful that this has been called a hoax. Hopefully today we can clear that up. This is not a hoax. This is real. There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise. And the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C.
Okay, and then I just want to go straight into the next clip. This was Donald Trump. After this press conference concluded, this is what he had to say.
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
There are some brass balls on that man. Those women stood there in front of the Capitol and talked about how they were sexually abused and trafficked, and he calls it a hoax that's irrelevant.
It's beyond that. It's beyond what those girls said. He knows because Jeffrey Epstein was one of his best friends. Jeffrey Epstein has given hours upon hours of interviews with, I can't remember his first name. Michael Wolff. And he knew the ins and outs of the Oval Office and the pecking order and how you had to treat the president and the layout of it during Trump 1.0. This whole birthday booklet, Donald Trump wrote to him about, the secrets and enigma. On tape, he says, Jeffrey Epstein's a good friend of mine, but yes, he liked them a little young, predating the indictment and the incarceration and the death of Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump has been inside the Death Star. So it's beyond just having brass balls about what's happening currently. He's known about this for decades. Donald Trump has had a front row bird's eye view to the most, one of the worst child sex traffickers and rapists that this country has ever seen. And he is, if you go and look at Jeffrey Epstein's apartment, the connections that this man has, it's staggering and jaw dropping. And it seems to me, the more you learn about this, the more brazen his behavior was.
Right. Yeah, it absolutely was. And we have these victims saying, if the United States government doesn't release the files, we will get together and we will do lists and we will name people, because Donald Trump and his administration are covering for these people. And one thing I thought was super important, look at how the news coverage was of these survivors speaking in front of the Capitol. Here we have every major network is carrying the Epstein victims press conference except for Fox News. You see C-SPAN, MSNBC, Scripps, CNN, ABC News, and then you have Fox News has the Polish president relationship with Trump in U.S. That's the picture. That's really a show and tell. That tells you exactly what they care about.
Well, and you have the leader of Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, who also owns the Wall Street Journal. And you see conflicting narratives coming out of two of his crown jewel media empires. The editorial page in the Wall Street Journal is a little bit more reasoned, a little bit more attached to reality, and traffics less in conspiracy theories. And is starting to, Wall Street Journal editorial board is way too conservative for me, but at least they're calling out the erratic tariff policy, the destabilizing nature of a lot of this man's worst impulses on the economy. And then you have Fox that is just literally a racist propaganda entertainment channel that just riles up the rubes. And it's amazing to me that this is a huge thing. I mean, the right wingers lost their minds over Bill Clinton. They lost their minds. It made them question marriage. It made them question the presidency. And you know what? Now, she was 18 years old, and Bill Clinton, that's really abhorrent. And that was worthy of chyrons on the news. That was worthy of being a leading story. Likewise, this is a massive scandal. This woman was a sex offender, is a sex offender, covered up for sex offenders, brutalized emotionally, physically, these poor minor girls. And she was tried and she was incarcerated for it. And she allegedly floated the information to the Wall Street Journal about the birthday book. It is largely believed that Ghislaine Maxwell sent a message to the Trump administration. I have this, so if you don't come talk to me, I'm going to escalate this. So Rupert Murdoch, Massey, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and others are seeing beyond Kinks's the rest of the short life that he has left to live. We've seen the medical condition, the heart failure, the dementia, the cankles, the bruised hands. He's swollen up like a bubble tick. And so you see people starting to make arrangements post that. And so it's interesting that Rupert Murdoch allows for one media arm to have clarity and receive leaked information. And then the other one, he just completely sane washes this whole thing. And this is a major leading story, that she went and lied to the DOJ and got moved to some cream puff prison.
Well, the corruption in itself of them saying, oh, I have the client list. Oh, we're going to release it. And then saying we don't have it. And then sending messages from the Trump administration. We will consider it a hostile act if you vote to release the Epstein files. That is corruption at the high. I mean, that makes Watergate look like nothing. And they're just acting like it's not happening.
But I mean, Fox News is the most complicit, and its viewers, like their viewers are truly the worst America has to offer. I mean, people that sit and freebase Fox News, I mean, these people are racist, intellectually lazy. And I think these are the people, when they're polled, do you think that we should have a dictatorship? They probably say yes, because they've been primed to want it.
Yeah. And they're probably the exact same people that were rah, sis, boom, bah, released the files until they figured out Trump was in them. So that's the update we have from this afternoon. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back later with more news.